Wah wah witty wah. There used to be a time when working on a Star Wars film would have been a legendary honor. A time when anybody who was involved with anything on a Star Wars film would have seen it as their life's greatest achievement. Those days are gone. In a shocking move, the pair of directors from Game of Thrones have left the Star Wars trilogy hanging. They quit. They just quit. They were set to produce the film for 2022, the first one to come after this year's Rise of the Skywalker, and they quit. Huge shout out to this video sponsor, NordVPN. This is probably the easiest sponsor shout out I ever have to do because NordVPN is something I personally use and have been using for almost a year now. NordVPN was selected as Best VPN from the Best VPN Awards for 2019. It was also the only VPN to get all green checks from PC Magazine. You get unlimited bandwidth, you get super fast servers, you get no data logging, you also get a 30-day money-back guarantee. Secure yourself with NordVPN using the description in the link below, and you can save up to 70% off using my promo code. So head over to nordvpn.org/thequadrant to not only save 70%, but also get 1 month free with a 3-year plan. They quit, allegedly, to work on Netflix stuff. Netflix stuff. You quit working on Star Wars to work on Netflix stuff. Let me repeat that because I don't think many people heard me. You quit working on an original Star Wars movie to go work on Netflix stuff. Lord have mercy, how the mighty have fallen. I am absolutely, positively flabbergasted. I know that the fandom itself, okay, was divided starting with The Last Jedi. And by the way, as I've always said, it's not just the films that divided people. It was all the marketing and the articles, the marketing arm of Disney, which, let's be honest, a lot of YouTube channels that cover Star Wars, I'm not going to name names, a lot of websites that cover Star Wars, they're in the pocket of Disney. They're not going to write anything critical of the films, but even worse than that, they will attack anybody who criticizes the Star Wars film. They use language like toxic fandom and man babies and basement dwellers and incels and paint anybody who was unhappy with a particular move in the Star Wars universe as a bully. Well, late last night, news broke. Star Wars shocker. Game of Thrones duo QUITS planned trilogy. I can't even wrap my head around this. It seems like anybody, and I mean anybody, would take the chance to work on even a bad Star Wars film. I can't think of a better example of how pathetic the franchise is right now. The pair were set to produce the 2020 film, first to come after this year's Rise of the Skywalker. Game of Thrones creators, David Beinhoff and D.B. Weiss, have exited their planned Star Wars series over 18 months after Disney and Lucasfilm first announced they were joining. Let's be clear. This wasn't just something else came up. They absolutely, positively either had some sort of disagreement with what the direction was that Disney wanted to go, or they saw the writing on the wall that the franchise is leaving a stain on people's careers, or they couldn't be allowed to make the Star Wars film that they wanted to. We love Star Wars. When George Lucas built it, he built us too. Beinhoff and Weiss said in a statement, "Getting to talk about Star Wars with him and the current Star Wars team was a thrill of a lifetime. We will always be indebted to the saga that changed everything. But there are only so many hours in the day, and we felt we could not do justice to both Star Wars and our Netflix projects, so we're regretfully stepping away." Think about that statement. We chose Netflix over Star Wars. Star Wars. This whole statement is PR marketing wonk. That's a fact. You can't tell me that you're a director in 2019 who claims that you were brought up on the greatness of Star Wars and on all of the things that George Lucas did and how excited you were, and then you quit to go work on Netflix crap. We know that it wasn't money. There's no way Netflix is paying these dudes more than Disney would have paid them. We know that it's not because they don't like Star Wars, because even if you don't like the films, you take that job. That on your resume is something that no one will ever take away from you. It's like winning a Super Bowl. Regardless of the rest of your career, you'll always be a Super Bowl winning player. Look at Trent Dilfer, one of the worst quarterbacks of all time, but the dude's got one ring and everyone can he's always got that. He's won a Super Bowl. Say what you want about how bad of a quarterback he was. He's got a ring. That's what Star Wars is to directors. And oh, by the way, you probably also make tens of millions of dollars. I suppose you could say the same thing about Super Bowls. But nonetheless, there is something going on here. Disney probably said, we want you to do this one way. They said, no, we want to do it our way. They couldn't come together. And I guarantee you more details will leak out about this. Because there is just no explaining to me how directors would leave a Star Wars film. The pair were set to write and produce the December 16, 2022 Star Wars film. By the way, this probably leaves Disney in a bad spot. A film that's set to release in 3 years should already be under work. Like, things should be moving along quickly. We would have already seen a trailer probably in the next year, year and a half. The Last Jedi filmmaker Rian Roundhead Johnson is working on this one, as well as the so-called Skywalker saga being helmed by J.J. Abrams. Lucasfilm president Kathleen Kennedy said David Beinhoff and Dan Weiss are incredible storytellers. We hope to include them in the journey forward when they are able to step away from their busy schedule to focus on Star Wars. Imagine, what in God's green earth could you be working on for Netflix that is a bigger power play than Star Wars? I mean, I'm literally asking you in the kind of you, the viewers. The news comes a month after The Hollywood Reporter exclusively broke the news that Marvel Studios chief Kevin Feige was developing a Star Wars film, a move that drew speculation that perhaps this could be a testing ground for the MCU architect to have a bigger role in the galaxy far, far away. Earlier this month, Feige's resume got even bigger when he was up to Chief Creative Officer at Marvel, overseeing the creative direction of Marvel storytelling, content creation across media, including film, TV, animation, and comics. Meanwhile, Beinhoff and Weiss signed a 5-year, $250 million overall deal with Netflix in August that was met with envy and a bit of head scratching, as their commitment to Star Wars would have meant that their new content for Netflix could have taken a decade to come to fruition. Well, there it is. $250 million, 250 million reasons to abandon the Star Wars trilogy. Is it just purely about money? Is it about wanting to create something of your own? I suppose it's possible, but it's still hard for me to imagine. Now, there's probably no way that Disney was going to pay them anywhere near that amount of money, but they had already agreed to both. They had already double dipped. The duo had been in high demand since completing Game of Thrones, which swept Emmy Awards with 12 wins, including Best Drama, but received a divided response from critics and fans. Last season was suboptimal. Landing Beinhoff and Weiss was considered a boon for Kennedy, who signed the creators to a trilogy back in February in the wake of a series of high-profile firings, including the June 2017 exit of Phil Lord and Chris Miller from Solo, A Star Wars Story in September 2017, the only Star Wars film, as far as I know, to ever lose money. Maybe the Christmas special was made for TV, though. I don't think they showed that in theaters. The dismissal of Colin Trevorrow, which was the director of Episode 9. The exit of Beinhoff and Weiss comes as Star Wars is at a crossroads. Abrams, The Rise of Skywalker, December 20th, will close out the Skywalker saga, which, by the way, is set to open to the lowest box office numbers of the trilogy. Now, historically, last time we talked about this, historically, Star Wars starts out great, stinks in the middle, and finishes strong. Usually the third film earns the second most. That's historically. But I will argue that it'll be difficult to use those historical comparisons because the fandom has never been this divided. Return of the Jedi was the first Star Wars movie to open wide, then record 41 million Wednesday. I'm sorry, 41 million Wednesday through Monday, Memorial Day weekend. The Phantom Menace earned 64 million Friday through Sunday. Then a record 105 million Wednesday through Sunday, followed by Attack of the Clones, 80 million Friday through Sunday, 110 Thursday through Sunday. The Revenge of the Sith, the full picture for Star Wars Rise of the Skywalker, helmed by J.J. Abrams, and being touted as the final chapter of the Skywalker-specific Star Wars saga, will be told over its first week rather than opening weekend, because mid to late December releases tend to do ridiculous multipliers thanks to a 2-week portion until the beginning of the next year, where the kids are out of school and many adults are off work. That's why Disney picks this slot when they move The Force Awakens out of May in the first place, seeing the potential for a Star Wars movie on the same weekend, give or take the calendar as 6 Middle-earth movies, Titanic, Avatar, King Kong, and eventually Aquaman, and it wasn't an accident. More importantly, the calendars such as where Star Wars Rise of the Skywalker could open below The Last Jedi and still end up leggier over the long haul. So what Mendelssohn's saying here is essentially you pick the weekend where people have literally nothing else to do, so they go see a Star Wars movie. Here in the Midwest, we got snow last night. There's snow on the ground outside. It's October 29th, and sooner or later, the kids are going to be off school, the parents will be off work, the kids will be annoying the parents, so they'll take them and drop them off the movies for 2 hours of peace while they drink wine in their minivan. That's who sees Star Wars in December. Star Wars A Force Awakens had to wait until the first Friday for Christmas Day, and it did as did the Titanic and Avatar. So these are all just plays. Barring opening weekend, closer to Force Awakens and Black Panther or the Avengers, 720 domestic would probably be a best-case scenario, although this way to note that while we may see headlines over the next 2 months, especially when official tracking drops in 5 weeks about the final chapter of the Rey, Finn, Poe, Kylo saga opening below The Last Jedi and The Force Awakens, the real question is whether a more beneficial post-debut holiday schedule will allow for longer legs. Again, here's the reality. The legs of the film are going to depend on whether or not it's any good. Because if you're like me, I'm going to wait for several people I trust to come around and say, dude, I know the last one sucked, but, and they fixed this and they fixed that and they did that and they really did it justice. Otherwise, I have very little interest in rushing out to the cinema this Christmas to give Disney more of my money for another bland, forgettable Star Wars that apparently directors and people alike are willing to leave behind to go work for Netflix. Now, The Mandalorian is a different beast. The second trailer dropped last night. I think it looks pretty good. Will I pay for Disney Plus just to see it? Hard no. But it does look good. There are other ways to watch things these days. I'm looking forward to seeing The Mandalorian. We're learning more about it, which comes out November 12th as Disney Plus drops. So we're going to have to see what kind of series and extra lore we get there. Nonetheless, not a good look for Star Wars losing people to Netflix. Hope you enjoyed this video. We'll talk to you again real soon.